How's it, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of You Win or You Learn. I'm Dylan Haskin. In this video, I'm chatting with Andre Hugo. He is a cinematographer, a video editor. He used to do websites, and now he has a family with 4 kids. In this next episode, I'm going to be chatting with him about how he balances his work and life, how he got to where he is in his career, and his plans for going forward. So without any further ado, enjoy this episode with Andre Hugo. Shot. Andre, how's it going?
Good. We just filmed my podcast, so just got out of that.
Yeah, so if you are watching this now, I'm not sure if the other one will be up yet, but I was on his podcast and now you're on mine. Lekker.
Very cool.
Cool. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. You've been doing 8 of these since you've been down here. So I'm very excited to have someone that's really so popular on my podcast. Thank you for making time for me.
Me popular. Oh, no.
Yeah, man. Thank you for making the time. And so basically sort of give a little intro to the actual podcast here. So it's called You Win or You Learn. And it's sort of that talking about the lessons that we learn along the way of our journey. Specifically like entrepreneur based or like running a business or freelancing. And obviously there's lots that we can learn, and it's seeing those things that we maybe didn't get right or like failed in, and what we learned out of that to be able to carry on.
Okay.
So yeah, looking forward to hearing how things have been going. And I think maybe in the beginning, let's just have you introduce yourself and who are you, and like what do you do? What do you call yourself?
Okay.
And then like what kind of work are you involved in at the moment?
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me, firstly. And it's funny, like titles in our profession. It's because we aren't DPs, but we do DP work, and because we aren't directors, but we do directors work. It's like I'm probably just a filmmaker. You know. I wouldn't even go content creator, because then that's also a different genre. Filmmaker. I'm from St. Francis Bay, so small town, Eastern Cape, and I shoot videos. I also started doing a lot of more post-production side of things. So I've been able to travel less. I've got a family, so I work from home. And I've always enjoyed the editing part. Like I've always enjoyed that thrill as well. You get the thrill of obviously shooting and not knowing how things are maybe going to turn out, but I feel the same in the editing. Like I get a big thrill of like going through the footage and finding those moments, or just finding what works for how I'm feeling actually at that moment. You know, like. I actually, like some people choose songs beforehand. I like to choose songs like how I'm experiencing the footage, while I'm looking at it. Then, so anyway.
Yeah.
So I enjoy the post-production.
Okay.
No formal training, YouTube. Started early on, but I professionally, I would say, started 2018,
yeah. So we are the same age. We're born like 1987, the same month as well.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah, you are. Am I older? You are?
I'm on the 30th of January.
Yes,
you're the 20th.
I'm 10 years older than you.
10 days.
10 days. Sorry. 10 days.
So you started in 2018 kind of like officially.
Yeah.
So maybe how did you get to start, and what were you doing up until that point?
So I had studied, where to start? Let's say I've always been into cameras, like maybe that far back.
Yeah,
Is that fine? Yeah. So I've always been into cameras. I've always enjoyed like tinkering with like computers, technology. So I think we just talked about it on my podcast, but my first camera was also, or the first one I played with was also this Sony, I don't know what it was called, but it's like, it was used floppy disk, not floppy disk, stiffies.
Yeah.
That's what
we still call them stiffies as well. Because the floppy ones were floppy.
Yeah, exactly. They were the bigger, and this one was a stiffy. Anyway, so it actually shot onto that. I mean, I don't even know like what quality that was. Probably like a few kilobytes per photo. So that was my first experience, and always just enjoyed it. And I was the youngest sibling in our family. So
okay. How many kids?
three
Okay.
together. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
three siblings. So I was always the dedicated vacation videographer. You know,
Okay.
there was always that role. I don't know. It's obviously not a thing anymore because everyone's got a phone and a video. But there was back then you could afford like one video camera, and when you go on holiday, someone needs to man it, and they always gave it to me. So I was just naturally comfortable with the camera. Played around with it. Then we got into, like, me and my friend group got into like skateboarding, and that was a big inspiration because you saw a lot of skateboard content. Try to replicate that, you know, like shoot like they shoot. And
Yes.
we didn't have any editing software back then. So, I mean, I can't even remember what we did with it. Like, we probably just recorded and watched it from start to finish. Yeah. So never edited to anything.
Did you grow up in St. Francis Bay, or where did you grow up?
Yes, yeah. Grew up in St. Francis Bay, yeah.
So you like from there proper?
Yeah. Grew up there. Literally, I was born in Newmansdorp, which is was the closest hospital to St. Francis Bay.
Okay.
So yeah, all my life, and yeah, so always had an interest and had exposure. My dad also, like in my matric year, what's that? 2005. Yeah, 2005. Thanks, because we're the same. 2005. We went on a holiday, and he actually bought a Canon the 350D.
Okay.
So it was a pure photo camera.
Yes.
I think after that was the
Yeah,
500D or 400.
I think it was like the 450 or the
started getting
500D had like video mode on it.
Exactly. Yeah. So this was still
the 350.
But it gave me. You started working with like aperture priority or shutter priority, and someone actually taught me about like the aperture priority, and I was like, because obviously then you were just like shooting full automatic, you know. And so like little by little, having the exposure, like learning more about the trade or like the technical aspects, but never kind of thought to do that professionally. It was purely just hobby, fun.
Was there a reason why you didn't consider it?
I think I didn't know anyone who did it professionally back then. My dad is in construction, so very like more formalized type of industry. People we knew were in, you know, family friends. Like I had no reference of someone that did that for a living.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that is part of it. Obviously, the stuff we were watching, you know, obviously I should have known that these people are doing it somewhat professionally, but it didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't click. It wasn't an option in my head. Like, you know,
it was the same. Like for me, when I look back as well, like why didn't I used to make little like videos at school, and I would play with the camera and stuff. But I think at that point, at least from what I like remember, it was pre-social media. So there wasn't all the content in that way. And then there was this idea of a photographer, which was like a newspaper one and like a magazine photographer and a National Geographic photographer. And those ones were like highly specialized, competitive to get in there. It was almost like you needed to be an artist to qualify to get to be one of those ones.
Yes, yeah.
And then I remember this whole thing about it seemed like photographers were being laid off in a way from those like positions. The newspaper photographer wasn't really a thing anymore because they were like doing it in-house, and it just had this whole vibe of it didn't seem like a reliable industry to go into.
Yeah.
It seemed like something that was more hobby, or you like just have to be the best of the best to make any money out of it.
Yeah.
And that was at least why I didn't. And then I didn't even consider it as an option. I was like, oh, it's like a fun thing you can do, but you can't really like make a living out of it.
Yeah, which in hindsight, it's a good thing because you literally, it's like meeting your wife and being friends for the first few years.
Yeah.
You know, your partner, like, you know, there was no pressure.
Yes.
I was really just doing it for fun and to show my friends, and like that was it. So you get to learn it in a very innocent kind of environment, like.
Yes, and it wasn't like a professional go to school to learn how to do something. It was just like playing with something.
Yeah, because I mean, I think you also develop. Like if someone maybe had pushed me back then to be like, no, you need to go and do this, I would maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. You know? So really just finding my feet in it. And I think what changed was I got into mountain biking. That was my first year of university in Stellenbosch, 2006.
What did you do in Stellenbosch? What did you
So I
study?
studied a BA degree, very like generic, but it was called socioinformatics, which even if you ask me now what it was, I can't explain. I'll come to that later. There was one good aspect of it, which kind of helped me with like starting a business, but I'll get to that. But I started mountain biking in Stellenbosch and really loved it. Like it was.
It's one of the best places in the world to mountain bike.
Exactly.
What a rad place to
Yeah.
be.
And even back then, it was, there was a culture of it. Again, me growing up in like a more surfing community, there was, I don't know. Yeah, obviously you had bikes as kids, but there wasn't mountain bikers. So it was completely new to me. And in fact, my dad had like an old wheeler bike with like suspension that still had like those rubbers over it, and it even had a grip shift. For back then it was like normal.
I remember grip shift,
but that like got back like into. But anyways, it was a really like my one friend I went to go ride with the first time. He like looked at that bike and he's like, "This dude, like, what is going on?" But I just remember the first like single track we hit. I was just like, "Whoa, this is so much fun!" Like adrenaline rushing. So I was really hooked and then kind of tried to do that unsuccessfully competitively, like I just kind of think I can. But the passion for mountain biking made me obviously go to events and like see event highlight reels afterwards, and I started going to events with a camera to film, or to make a little video of it.
Yes. Was that of your own experience that you were filming, in the sense of like you were there to film yourself like riding?
No.
Or you just go and attend?
I wonder what's, I mean, it could be that the first one was a like a bike packing trip me and my dad did.
Oh, cool.
And I filmed that with a little point and shoot camera. I think it was a Canon something. Anyway, we still have it actually. My daughter's using it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so it wasn't even like GoPro or anything. It was like literally pulling it out the pouch, like steering and it was the Baviaanskloof. We rode like 3 days through the Baviaanskloof. And I made a little clip out of that. And then, it was actually myself. And then, but then also events. I think that opened the door to like a commercial type of avenues. Like people, hey, you make videos, you can, but I didn't necessarily like start off like that. But that was like could be potentially a avenue, like filming events.
Yeah.
Again, with the passion I have for mountain biking.
Yeah. At that stage, were you like working at that point, or what were you doing?
I finished university in 2011 or 2010. So 2011, I started working for my dad in construction.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is now like back in
St. Francis. Okay. Yeah. So so I wasn't doing any filming or anything. That's when we like did those trips, the bike packing trips, and then I worked for him for 3 years. And then what I alluded to with like the university, like we learned how to do websites. So it was like a soft computer science type of degree in that sense. Like we did a lot of computer stuff, and one of it was like basic HTML, CSS coding, and building websites. And then with the mountain biking, I had actually started like a blog, not a vlog, a blog, back in the day. We just wrote things down and pictures. So like race reports, I would do like a
Yes.
race report.
Okay.
And then I did the website for the East Cape mountain biking, you know, ECMTB, the body for mountain biking in the Eastern Cape, did their website. And then a guy called Victor Momsen, who started Momsen Bikes, he was in the factory, or the headquarters was in Port Elizabeth, our way, so quite close to each other. And then he reached out to me and like saw my website and was like, "Can you do you want to do a website for me? I need a website." So that got me out of the construction into a different industry, and obviously I was like, wow, this is awesome. I'm working for a bike company.
Yeah.
I love bikes. And that opened more of a media type of like avenue. So I did websites for them, as well as a bit of graphic designing. And then I did that for about a year. And then after that, I decided to go freelance with the websites, just doing websites.
Okay.
No photo or video yet. So then I did websites for the next few years, and it was through a website client asking for a Euro video or just a video on the website. The agency that they used, the woman was like, "Can you like make a video?" And I was like, "Oh, well, technically I can, because I actually have a camera that can shoot video. I've been using it for like, it was actually, I think it was a 600D. Yeah, my first one was 600D.
Yeah.
And then, I can. Let's try it. And it was quite intense, because it was a vein clinic, which is like where people go to remove like spider veins or like visible, like a cosmetic type of treatment too. So now I'm there like patients and like injections and like but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole process. Like, we did a little interview afterwards with one of the like the patients, like testimonial. And to put that all together in editing software, I think I used iMovie back then. I was like, wow, I enjoy this. So yeah. So then
was that like your first paid job?
That was my first paid job.
Yeah.
That was the first time I was like, someone is willing to pay me money for that.
Yeah.
And I remember back then, I think so now that is 2018. Like I started 2018, my first paid job. I charged 3,500 Rand I got for that video. And I was like, that's not bad. Like, I mean, it was less than for a website, but for what I had to do and how fun it was, I was like, this, this can work.
Okay. Also, I guess it's something that you could like, I can add this on to my other clients.
Exactly. Yeah. I hadn't thought at that stage, like, just go full into that. No. I mean, that came years later. So very good add-on service. Worked well with websites. So, and people were looking for more content, video content around then.
Yeah, hundreds.
Yeah, so did that and kept on doing websites and videos on the side. And then the mountain biking thing came back in play, because now I was wanting to experiment and like just do passion project video. And I reached out to a local mountain biker from PE, Marco Hubert. He was riding for Momsen Bikes back then. And I did a little spec piece on him. And it was like a little profile on him, like with some shredding and, So
I remember, I feel like it was maybe a similar time, but I used to watch a lot of that stuff on like Vimeo. And like Big Bike too. Where they had these like edits that they would do on, it was like a
riders.
On like riders and like downhill riders.
Yeah, a bit of talking, but also it's more about like the shredding and So it was that format of like a bit about his story and then showing cool cycling clips, slow-mo this. And I had just also bought my first drone.
Cool.
Spark.
Yes.
Like that was a tiny one. It didn't even fold up.
It was their like first very little one.
Yeah, very entry level one. And I remember I flew that like in the like single track, the canopies, and crashed it into the trees, but got like this sick tracking shot, of the cycling.
Yeah.
And I think, again, looking back at like the content I consumed, being able to replicate that somehow, like, I mean, I knew they used like zip line.
Yeah, I remember that whole like zip line camera thing.
Yeah, like
would do.
insane, and it just keeps on going, and you get these insane shots. Anyway, so it felt like that, I was like, what? I created that. Like, it looks amazing. I love it. So, and then, yeah, I through that, he joined another cycling team the year after, Giant Pro Cycling in Buco. Giant, I think they were back then, Pro Cycling. And they were like, they needed a video guy for the Cape Epic, and they saw my work, and they were like, cool, can you come and shoot something? And that was like, wow, okay, this is big. Like, a Cape Epic is like the pinnacle of mountain biking. It's like 8 days long. It's like full on. So I was very excited to go and shoot that. And I just have to kind of think my thoughts. Like, yes, I was obviously still doing websites, so it wasn't full time, but it had become more of a like priority. The video with clients like that. You like, you get to do more of the video stuff.
Yeah, well, that must have been quite a big thing because of you obviously being into mountain biking and knowing about the Cape Epic.
Yeah.
And then getting that call.
Yeah.
Was it like, how did you feel? Was it like a nervous experience as well? Were you quite, I don't know, like, what were they
I'm
expecting?
nervous, like, even with shoots today, like, there's never that, I'm never like not nervous, but especially back then, because now it's also the element of like you rubbing shoulders with like bigger names and like people you look up to. You're like, whoa. And because how it works, you're like in a media room with all the other teams, media and Epic's media, and you're all working together. So now you're like one of them, suddenly. So it was. I remember I'm quite like introverted, and like I was like just did my work and left. I didn't like mingle a lot, and but I was definitely, call it a bit like starstruck. Like, I can't believe I'm in this situation. But on the other side, also stressed out because I'm now doing content. I think back then we did daily edits. Yeah, I think it was already 2019. Sure. Daily edits, shooting all morning, daily edits, collecting enough footage for a after story, of the whole epic. So yeah, that kind of kept me focused. Like, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. It's a big one to jump into. Was that your first multi-day event as well?
Yes. Let me think. Yeah. First multi-day event.
So that's 2019, which is also like not that long ago.
Yeah.
In one way.
Yeah. That's.
And then, so what's been happening since then? That's now like 5 years.
So, yeah, I mean, that was really crazy because 2018 was my first like paid gig,
Yeah.
and then
you're on the
2019 is March. It was actually a year later that I got into Cape Epic.
Sure.
So then kind of fully committed to the mountain bike niche of video creation, like, doing as much as possible in that area, local events. The Cape Epic became a regular for the next 5 years, I think. And then I was like, just before COVID, I was, okay, now I can see, like, I was at that point where not one or the other did enough job-wise. The filmmaking or the websites, not one of them on their own did enough to kind of leave the other one. So I had to do both, but I knew I wouldn't be able to like progress in filmmaking, which was the one I wanted to pursue, if I didn't drop the website, because obviously that takes time. It removes me from doing making films. So I was like this delicate, like I couldn't wait for the time for filmmaking to make me enough money to now drop websites. So I was like, okay, I need to take the plunge and then COVID happened. Yeah. And it was like, I can't, video being obviously something you have to go and shoot. But then I wasn't like purely just doing editing or like something I can do from home. It was like I had to go and shoot it as well. That was how my work came in.
Yeah.
You know, so then I was like, okay, no, I can't. I have to, you know, stick to my website stuff. And that's literally, I only, my last clients that I've kind of passed on to other website designers, that happened beginning of this year.
Sure.
Where I was like, yeah, time has come. Now I have to let them go, you know, or let that go. So yeah, so in fact, you know, this is my first year as a full-time, even though I've been marketing myself more. I wouldn't market myself as a website designer. Like last year, I didn't take on any new work. I just kind of serviced the clients that I had, but I didn't take on any new work. So I already kind of slowly just started pulling back.
Yeah.
Not like for instance, my signature on my email like doesn't say anything about websites even back then, like last year. So kind of already making the move. But yeah, technically first year of full-time filmmaking. Yeah.
How was that feeling passing on that last client? Because there's sort of like even though you weren't doing it as much, there's like something now has completely changed in a way.
It was actually like, obviously because that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to kind of put that behind me. But when it happened, I like phoned up the client and I was like, they knew that I was also doing video. But I told them, listen, this was not the one big client. The last one was like, you're going to need a new website soon. And I just want to let you know that I'm not going to do websites any longer. I can still maintain the website. So it's not like just dropping you, but I'm just warning you. Yeah, I'm just warning you that like, if you're thinking of a new website, because it is time for a new website, like I'm not going to be available for that. Like I'm just going to start focusing on video. And obviously they were like, you know, but bummed or just like, what do we do? But I reassured them and said, we'll find someone and, you know, I'm not going away. So, but then that was that. Then I was like, well, that was kind of like anticlimax, you know, like I think, and I think the lesson there is like, you know, if you do freelance, you aren't part of the company, even though to extent you are part of the company. Like you really put yourself there for the client and you go beyond like what's needed sometimes. Like I remembered I did this amazing shoot, that was 2019, just before COVID, where we went to St. Helena, the island, which is like this insane magical place in the middle of the ocean. It's it's basically the second most remote inhabited island in the world.
Sure.
So it's like really in the middle of nowhere. People doing crossings from Africa to America by yacht, that would be their halfway stop because that's the only place you can stop. Anyway, so it's like this, and we shot a mountain biking film there, one of the first. They had some mountain bikers there, guys who had, you know, built some trails, but this was like the first mountain biking video, and it was with Airlink. Like,
okay,
yeah,
like
we approached.
Client,
yes, yeah, we approached them. My friend somehow made a contact.
Very cool.
Or in fact, he had filmed at St. Helena the year before with Jock Crawford, the guy that shot with me, Darren Peens. Like, yeah, he went. So he had contacts there. So it was crazy how it worked out. Like, and then we needed a mountain biker. Anyway, so I don't know where I was going with that. Like I completely lost my train of thought. Now I'm back in St. Helena. But that was okay. Yeah. If I just want to hang on to that,
you were talking about the shifting from the clients having the website, and then they were supposed to leave.
Yeah. So
like you're part of the company.
Yes, yeah. So he's like full on part of the company, and I don't even know how those two connected. I went into that now. There was a thread. I'm sorry, I lost it. But
that's fine.
But yeah, okay. So back to that lesson of like, you put so much into their work that you almost feel like an employee. But then obviously the day that you need to go, there's no like send off. I mean, if they're probably really nice, they would maybe send you a little, hey, thank you card, whatever. But because you're not employed, it's not built in. It's like, just think if an employee worked for 5 years for a company and he now moves on, it would be like, like let's have a staff party and a go away,
Yeah.
thing and whatever. Like there would be, I hope that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in general, I think
Yeah.
so.
But that was kind of my expectation. I was like,
Yeah.
that was kind of anticlimax. And
Mm.
then the like fear set in a bit of like, well, that was quite consistent work. Did I make the right decision? Yeah, this is like all that type of stuff. Kind of, I wouldn't say made me doubt, but I was like, yeah, it felt weird because I had done it. I'd literally done it for, after university, I'd started dabbling with websites, so that, and then 2015, I worked at Moms and Bikes full-time website. And then from there, so, it was like 10 years of my life. So, it was, now I'd like completely put it to one side. But on the other side, I was also like, I never want to do that again. Like I had done it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed like designing. I enjoyed like, visualizing the brand, telling the story, even on a website, it's like you're visualizing the brand. So you're thinking of that. And so I enjoyed that, It's not like, but it was definitely like technology changes so quickly with websites. I felt like I wasn't going to do my clients justice by just hanging around. Like you need to stay on top of it. And so it wasn't, I was glad I was not responsible for that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
so then you started, so beginning of this year was technically when that client like left.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd really not done a lot of work for them, but I was still doing maintenance. Basically, if something had gone wrong, I would still be the guy that needed to go fix it. I think that was my biggest fear. Like, I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
But so it had become a much smaller part. I would say like 10%, maybe even less of my work was still that. But it was still enough to keep me up at night. Because the potential of something going wrong would like throw out my whole week, potentially. So it was still like weighing on me, even though it was just a 10% of my income. So it was just naturally the right thing to do.
Yeah. How was the sense of, so that was the sort of looking backwards at that job, leaving it. How was the looking forward at what you're currently doing? Was that like or like how did you feel now that sort of that, not the burden, but that was now like released in a way?
Yeah. I think, it was also the first year that I didn't do the Epic. So that was also like an anchor type of client, a job I'd call like. But I don't know. I just there was no looking back anymore. So I think I had started working with a client that gave me like recurring work, so retainer, call it retainer, like basically two weeks of the month that I just did work for them. So that was exciting to work with, or just at least like is exciting as well. But it was also just like solid income. I knew it was there. Keep doing that. I don't know. I didn't think much of like, now I'm free. I can now go doing anything. Like I said, because it was only that 10% that kind of kept me back. Like I was still actually pursuing it full on. Anyone from outside would have not known. I was doing websites as well a bit. So it didn't change much. It didn't change much how I thought or what, how I was approaching it. I just kept on doing it, kept on, working for that client. I would say a bigger change came from getting a client like that, where it was such consistent work.
Yeah.
Because that made a big difference.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big challenges being a freelancer is it's often like seasonal work and it's up and down. And it's one of the things I think a lot of like freelancers are like, how do you get retainer clients? Or because it's nice to be busy when you're busy, but it's nice to have a break too. But sometimes that when you have that break, even if it's like an intentional break in the sense that there just isn't any clients at the moment, or it's off season, you enjoy it for the first week, but then you start to be like, oh, how long is this break going to go on for before I get another client? Is everybody like, like forgotten about me?
Yes,
and then you don't really have a break properly because you're always like wondering. So in your, or like how have you gone about approaching clients or getting a retainer client? Like if you had to offer advice to someone about that, what's your experience been about a
Getting more
retainer
consistent.
client, let's say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say it obviously starts off with like just trial, like doing a trial period. I think for your benefit and their benefit, like just not talking about retainer at the start, obviously. So you've done some work with them, and then I think the biggest important thing that I feel that has made my retainer client successful or has made it work up until now is that we during that time we realized we understand each other quite well. Like what I wanted from it was not someone to micromanage me and tell me exactly what to do. I wanted the creative freedom with the edit. And from his side, he just wanted someone to consistently, obviously, understand what he wants and deliver, and even more than that, like just on a personal level, we also had some similar backgrounds. Like he also was into skateboarding, and we were both. He's actually younger than me, but we're both young, and we're both into the whole channel that I'm editing for. So just to give context, like he's got a YouTube channel, so I'm editing for him. He sends me footage, I edit, but he's got like a off-roading. That's his channel, like off-roading, and that's something I'm also interested in. So it was just a good fit. I think that's what I want to get back to, like that for a tip, like just having a retainer client being consistent is one thing, but you might get bored of it if it's not a good fit, or you might feel like it's too much because they are micromanaging and that just doesn't work for you, or whatever the case. But yeah, it needs to be a good fit if you want to like commit to it long term. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to end up hating it and the relationship's not going to work out, the professional relationship. So yeah, that would be my one tip for retain a client. And then, yeah, I mean, it's also communication is so important, because you are not just doing one project, which is like, this is what they want and this is what you deliver, and you maybe do some changes, and that's the extent of the communication. Now it's like over a period of years, you kind of have to keep that communication in a good space, like because things change, like it's not, I say it's retainer, but like it's sometimes not like set in stone commitment, like if there isn't a video to do that month, then there isn't a video to do, but the ideal, or what we work towards, is that there will always be enough work to fill 2 weeks of my month. But it's not like, he's also just a business owner. Anything can happen. There's quiet times or whatever. So then I need to communicate. But like, how can we still keep this mutually beneficial? Because that's where we both want to be at. So yeah, I think you have to be comfortable to bring up those, maybe, I wouldn't say awkward conversations, but just stuff that's you need to talk about. Like you can't just keep it in, and yeah. So communication and a good fit is what made my retainer client like enjoyable and good for my business.
I think it's almost like if you're a freelancer and you have if your like relationship with your clients as a freelancer is maybe as a freelancer, and it's a project here and there, but even if as a freelancer, but doing like a retainer thing, it's almost like you almost become a partner with them in their business, because like you're saying, it's like if they get more work, you get more work, and if your edits are doing a good job for them, that means it's going to grow. So you're kind of working together for the same goal.
Yes.
Yeah, which is quite cool.
Yeah. You definitely become like an employee and like very involved, and
Yeah.
out of like natural occurrence, you will start being more interested. Like I don't know the overlanding scene in America, for instance. It is different. There's different things they do. But now I'm having more interest, doing a bit more research. Obviously YouTube is recommending more of those videos, so checking it out. And it's an enjoyable experience to kind of learn a new
Yeah.
Yeah, a new industry.
Yeah.
A new industry. I think that was also nice for me, is because the mountain biking industry was what I was focusing on. I had kind of set a goal in my mind. Like I also enjoy, if I had to like see the success I got out of passion for mountain biking, like I used my passion to kind of get mountain biking jobs. I also have a passion for cars, so maybe there's an opportunity there. So it was kind of, that's where that good fit also came in. Like as soon as that came, like the opportunity came, I was like, oh, I have to grab this, because that's literally some of the stuff I want to start doing.
Yeah.
Automotive stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. It's interesting, the thing about a good fit and about sort of compatibility. Because I often find out, I feel like with clients, a lot, like you can be really, really good, but if you're not nice to work with, that it plays a bigger part in what you think of from the client's perspective, whether you get hired or not.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of the times I get hired, and especially just being a creative person, you're always like judging your work and all those type of things, but you kind of feel like, why am I getting hired? Because there's so many people that are better than me.
Yeah.
But a lot of the reason is actually that they like to work with you. And like them liking to work with you could be because it's a good fit and things like that. But there's a big part of that in like what we do is just to be like pleasant to be around, or even just being on time and like reliable. And I feel like also in this kind of marketing space or the editing and video stuff, it's quite a low barrier to entry for people. Buy a camera now, all of a sudden I can be like a videographer. And a lot of clients have experienced a lot of those people who are new at it and maybe don't really think about all the other stuff, and aren't on time and late and aren't like dressed appropriately or whatever. So even just to do those things, it makes you like stand out often already, because they've already had a really bad experience with people.
Yeah. I think I take that for granted, because I had some other experience outside of videography, professional work experiences. Like I knew what is expected of you. So I would say that's very important.
Completing stuff on time, like deadlines, all those other things.
Yeah, that's so important. And like you say, that could be the reason you get reoccurring work. That's definitely the reason you get recurring work. Obviously, the work must have a standard that they are happy with, but it's more about like they can rely on you, because this is literally something they want to kind of offload in many cases. They will stay involved, but they don't have an in-house videographer. That's why they're using you. Like they want to offload this. And if you're becoming more work for them, then it's not going to work.
100%. I think in like if you're a freelancer out there now and you kind of like thinking about, obviously we're always thinking about how to get better at our craft, but there is a point where you're not going to get hired because you're better. You're going to get hired because you are on time and you're like reliable and people can count on you, and they will choose you over someone who's better than you because of that. So like also don't forget to focus on those skills, and almost maybe focus on them more than what you're focusing on learning how to edit something better, because especially when it comes to clients, and if you're wanting to like, it's all about like building a relationship with them and like maintaining that.
Yeah.
And just being good isn't gonna keep that going.
Yeah. No, that's very important.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not working through an agency where they handle that,
Yes.
You are that person.
Yeah.
The contact person. You are on time with replying to emails.
Yeah.
And, all that. Like, that's on you.
Yeah. And I guess, that's probably something that was quite helpful coming from the website background, just being used to dealing with clients. And
Exactly. Yeah. So I built up that experience.
In the just for interest in the content space on the website stuff, was there anything there that helped you how you shoot? Because you kind of think where this is going to go while you're shooting, or like what's the
I would say from what I enjoyed about the website side, like, was again that initial idea phase where client approaches you, they want a new website. They obviously have an old website, most likely you get to see it, and then immediately your brain starts thinking, okay, how can I improve on that to better fit their brand or their objectives, or maybe even tell them that this is not representing them. Actually, you're almost in a position to rebrand them, because your website's such a big part of most companies. Like, unless they already have like a very strict brand guideline. But I was working with smaller businesses, and some of them much bigger, but still I was in a position to really lead them in that. And that was quite nice, like to come up with the idea of, like, I want to think of an example, like I did a website for a golf estate, but it's quite a laid back golf estate, and obviously they look, in the sense of, it's at the coast, it's coastal, it's not your like high end posh type of golf estate. It's like more laid back, seaside, whatever. That was their vibe. And but the pressure was almost there to create something on the other end of it, like the scale, like where it looks like those posh, like fancy, type of font you use, type of layout, type of images, like, and I could then be in the position of saying, no, but let's embrace the more seasidey, aesthetics throughout, like the way we did, a bit more like laid back, even in that how we present the website. And and that's before even there's a single line of code written. So then it's just kind of the implementation phase after that, like doing it. But that kind of initial, and that completely goes over to video, working with a client. They want a video, how, if it's for an event or whatever, like, how do I really show the client's brand in maybe a new, interesting way, or I don't know. There's a lot of room for creativity to kind of visualize the brand again. Same with the websites, kind of visualize the brand. And I mean, that's something I'm still like exploring. Like, we were speaking about like your business, and how you actually, like, you obviously you came from a creative angle, but now you really enjoy the business side of it. That's kind of, you enjoy it. So I enjoy filming, editing, all of that, but I also, like, I don't want to be left out that initial creation phase. And I think that's why I kind of lean towards freelancing, because you are involved at the start as well. Most likely, you are involved at the start.
Yeah, especially if you're dealing directly with clients.
Yeah. If it's your client,
Yeah,
exactly. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't
that is
want to like leave out that phase and just focus on the creative, for instance. Or just shooting or just editing. That's very fun, and that came over from websites.
What are you currently finding is the biggest like challenge that you have with what you're trying to do or what you're trying to build? It doesn't have to be the biggest one. Just anything.
Challenge. Yeah, no. I mean, there's a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the big challenges for me now is, like, I really want to. That first video I did with the pro cyclist, without knowing, I was doing, like, I was more interested in doing a little mini doc, as opposed to full on, because you get those in the cycling content world where it's just like shredding. It's just like, and for some reason I wanted to tell his story as well, and so that's always been with me, and I kind of followed this path of trying to incorporate more storytelling, and that's kind of led me to documentary storytelling. And then now my challenge is, how do I get funding for that? Because I don't just want to spend a day with someone and tell their story and get B-roll and then put a little mini doc together. Like, I want to follow someone's journey, which could be a few months or a year of telling this journey, But there's not necessarily a client in the commercial sense like I was used to. Like, they sell this product, they want a video, to sell more of this product, make the video, done. Now it's like there isn't really a client. There needs to be a cause, or is it Showmax, or is it like, I don't know. So it's just a completely new world. And then the obvious thing would be, well, just start shooting, but then it's again, you must fund it yourself. So yeah, that's the challenge of like, how do I bridge that gap from, I really want to do that type of stuff, but I need the freedom to do it, either by someone investing beforehand or me having enough money to invest it myself and believe in the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, that challenge.
Your like family life, you have a few kids.
Yes, one or two.
Yeah.
Four.
4 kids. So you got 4 kids, all under 12?
Yeah,
So?
10. All under 10.
All under 10. Okay. So how has that experience been for you? So I'll just share a bit from my side. Being the decision to quit my job and being a freelancer it wasn't necessarily easy, and there's like challenges, and it's like makes you scared and whatever. But it was just me, and if it fails, it's just on me, and I can get a job again. It's not gonna like impact too many other people. That's quite a different situation for you, where you have a lot of people who will like rely on you, right? For you.
Yes.
How was that feeling? Because this all happened during this time while you've had kids, like either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah.
You've had to make these, or you've decided to make these big like shifts. Also with the pressure of, having a whole like family and not just 2 kids or 1 kid, like 4 kids.
Yeah.
I think at least for me, I couldn't even imagine doing it with 1 kid maybe, or like it would be a big challenge or a big like weight on me. How has that been for you, and what's if you can maybe like share a little bit about that experience?
I think like I have to just to kind of be transparent about that. Like I'm not the sole breadwinner, so again, there's not that like
It's not 100% up to you.
it's not 100% pressure for me, but that hasn't kept me from putting that pressure on myself. Obviously, like obviously I want to be the provider. But I don't want to compare myself to someone that is the sole breadwinner, and then he's also, I'm saying like take all these risks. Like that wasn't my situation. Like I could maybe take a bit more risks that wouldn't have such massive impact if it didn't work out. But I've never took that for granted. Like, and so that's that. But I think what has changed me with kids was like I work from home and I get to work from home, but I also traveled a lot for events and shooting. But like I want to be more at home. Like I don't want to travel as much. Like that's definitely not something I want to try and do more of. It's actually something I want to try and do less of, like traveling. So I've kind of, what I've had to change is to focus more on stuff that I can do at home, and that's the post-production, like the editing, and I've even done some color grading or like anything in the post-production kind of pipeline. So that's kind of changed it for it. As far as like tips for like, how would someone approach pursuing this type of career and knowing, having a family that is maybe not 100% reliant on it, but is 50% reliant on it. Like I think you can't think of that too much. Like you need to think of just, I think there's like a level of trust that has to come with it, where you like, listen, I'm earnest in my pursuit of this. There's clients that I worked with that are bigger clients that I ever thought I'd work with, and they were impressed by my work. So I can back myself and be like, something will come from this. Like, I shouldn't be afraid of I can't do this, like I trust that I trust that, those qualities alone, like people, there will be work for me. Like, yeah. And I also feel video is important. Like, it's not going to disappear. The need for it. In fact, it's now grown that it's like content creators, like, everyone's needs to make videos. So there's almost too much work, like going around. I mean, there's a lot of avenues you can get into with the skill set. Like, there's a lot I can do if push comes to shove. So yeah, I felt like just having those principles of like what we talk about, like being consistent, upping your game, adding value to the client, like, making up suggestions of what you think, like all that stuff has historically opened doors for me. So why will it just stop now? And yeah, I hope I'm not being naive, but I'm kind of working on a gradual growth, looking back, being like, it might not feel like I'm growing much, but like if I look back, I can see just by like earnings, maybe I can see like, it's always increasing. So, I must be doing something right, and I should just keep on doing that. It's like, yeah. So, and then maybe on the other side, where it's nothing to do with like finances, and like, I think it's important for my kids to also see that I'm doing something that I'm passionate about. Like, yeah. So that in itself should be a pursuit. Like, not, obviously you have to take care of the basics, but and not neglect the basics, but it's important that they see that you are pursuing something you're passionate about. So yeah, that should also motivate you to just keep on, going for it.
Yeah, that's very cool. Any big like failures or things that has happened that ended up being quite a helpful like lesson for you that you can think of? Can be in any area of your life. Doesn't have to be.
I would say maybe like on the maybe misjudging like financial things. Like, I think like I almost like lived month to month in a way, like salary to salary, very much. But as a freelancer, because there are ups and downs, like I would recommend anyone to, as fast as possible, build up a big enough savings nest, whatever, nest egg, to cover you for at least a few months, 6 months, whatever. And I've failed in that a lot, where it's like you need to buy this gear now, or it's like there's always stuff that you need to get, and not putting the correct things in place financially to kind of give you that freedom that you need to be creative. Yeah. So I was just speaking to someone about that. Actually, yeah, shout out to Juan de Suart. He started a course called, I don't know what it's called, but it's all about pricing for freelancers, basically. And I mean, just the little he shared to me, I was like, wow. Like, you think that in your head quickly, if you just like, this is what I need monthly, like that could be a figure. But if you really start delving down into it, like gear needing to be replaced every 4 years, are you factoring that into what you need a month? Even like, you want to go on a holiday, like, are you factoring in that you need the day rate I have today needs to have a little chunk in it for the the week I want to have off, or the 3 weeks I want to have off every year? Like, are you really thinking of everything? Because I mean, that's why you always feel like you're just not making it, maybe, or like you didn't have enough for this or that. But so I think that has been a like a something I didn't fully understand, and definitely need to that's something I would recommend someone to from the start have a good grip on. Yeah, because I don't want to like overgeneralize, but overgeneralize, but like creatives maybe are more focused on the creative and not the business, and the business is so important to make you feel free in your creative. For example, like a beginning or end of last year, like with the retainer client, the more consistency that allowed me to put more money away. And that freedom I experienced from not having to say yes to every single job that comes through the door, knowing that I need that money, that was like so liberating. It was so good for me to be able to be more selective with clients, selective with what projects. That's very liberating. So I would pursue that. Like if I had to do it over, I would want to pursue that first, like get to that position first, so I didn't have to say yes to all the work I didn't really want to do, but I did it because you maybe needed the money or whatever. So
Yeah, it is an interesting one, hey? I feel like we speak about like the like limitations and in creativity, but there's a point where the limitations can be too much and it's almost overwhelming. And I think similar with like money, or there's a certain time when you can be like, oof, I need to make this amount of money in this month. That can be like a motivational, but there's a line where it can cross where it's not motivational anymore, and it's like too extreme and it's overwhelming, and then you can't be creative. You're like too overwhelmed to be able to handle that.
to do your job.
Yeah. I think with our kind of like work, or with creative work, is you need to create we operate at our best if there is space to play in a way, and not meaning that has to be crazy amount of space, but you have to get into that sort of play like mindset, which you need to like relax with, and we can be under pressure, but if the pressure is too much, it takes away that thing of play, and then you just end up making something that is not nearly as good as what you could be.
Exactly.
And I suppose, if you're having that backup amount of money or whatever it is, that doesn't create that system where it's not like, if this job doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world.
Exactly.
It's okay.
Yeah. To operate from that platform where you have a bit of savings, even if it's just a few months, but just at least have that, and then also be realistic about budget, what you need, because that falls back into like, what do we charge as a freelancer? You think it's not the same. Yes, it's not the same for everyone. Like, because I've got 4 kids. I've all the stuff I have. Like, not that should directly influence my day rate, but at least I need to know that is my budget, and that's what I need to bring in, and be realistic about it. Especially the hidden costs that you don't really factor in, because then you like pull your hair out. Like, why didn't I thought I was like on track to make this much, but it's not in my account. What's happening? Like, it's all those like stuff you're not factoring in. Discipline when it comes to gear buying, like that's honestly, it's a thing. Like, because the latest, greatest comes out, and you think, if I don't have that, then people are gonna think I'm not professional or whatever. Like, you're not gonna do amazing work anymore. But like, you need to be disciplined in that as well. Like, you don't need that other lens, really.
Yeah, I think there was a point with the gear as well, because it's very easy to get caught up in buying new gear, and is the thing of like, I realized, hold on, is me buying this gear going to actually either allow me to increase my rate or get me work that I wouldn't have got before? Or is it going to add anything other than I just want it and it's going to make a more blurry background? Is me having a more blurry background going to get me more work?
Yes.
If yes, then it's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
But if not, then it's not like you can't buy it, but it's maybe not the priority.
Exactly.
Then maybe there's something else that is actually the priority.
No, that discipline, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
And then the other big one that I like realized in that specifically gear space was that like, I don't have to own anything. I can actually like rent stuff. So if it comes to like this whatever lens, if I don't own it, if I own it, I probably need to be using it often enough to justify owning it. But if it's for the once off here and there, like wildlife project where I need a
telephoto
600 mil, me buying it, it's going to sit here for 90% of the year, and for the 10%, I could have just rented it.
That's true.
So it's also helpful at least to like shift from ownership to like rental, especially when it comes to gear.
Yes.
I feel like it may be important to have like a base amount of gear, so you can do like projects that maybe can't pay for rental, just if you want to, or you want to do like personal work, but not thinking you have to.
Yes.
You can have a red and all the lighting and a whole film production crew.
Yeah.
You know, just to make your client videos.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, going forward, what are you currently planning, or what is your current goals? What are you focusing on?
So I mentioned like the documentary work, like that's still very much like in my crosshairs of like figuring out how I want to, improve my skills, or like, get into that more. So I'm always like looking for stories. Yeah. And it used to be in the sport sphere, but I've become more open to like just human-centered stories that obviously I relate with somehow. So that has opened some doors, telling stories I'd never thought I would be telling. Like a short doc we shot recently about two brothers that collect retro games. That just resonated with me, and I love the idea that it's brothers and they're doing it for passion. There was just like, so like finding characters. I'm always on the look, and I don't want, it's because it's not, it's difficult to say it's set in stone with documentary, because even if you have the character, things can change, whatever. But there are some stories that or at least there are some stories that I'm excited to explore, that has come across my path, and it's also awesome that because I'm more open to that, or I'm like more what do you call it, like receptacle, like I'm seeing more opportunities for that, which gets me excited, because in the beginning I was like, oh, good, like how do you find a story? But somehow now that I've just for myself, I've put it out there that this is what I want to do. It's kind of, I'm not saying it's finding me, but I don't know. It's just, I'm excited that something's going to land on my plate that I'm really going to be able to like get into, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm waiting for that day, and I'm not like sitting back and like, come to me. It's like, I'm definitely like looking, wondering, will they be good? And I'm also thinking practically, but I'm not just about like airy fairy like story. I want to tell about a good character. Like, I know there's certain subject matters that I don't want to say it will sell well or will get licensed well, but it's important to tell in this environment, like day and age. It's important to tell in this day and age. So looking at all those ways of like, how can I actually get to that point where I can maybe create a half an hour documentary that can go on festivals, festival circuit. That's another thing I would like to do more of, is go on the festival circuit, even just to attend. I had my first experience this year at the International Tourism Film Festival, ITFFA. Anyway, and that was a really good experience, hanging out with other filmmakers, seeing how they are like busy thinking of ideas, even though it's completely different interests, all that. Yeah. So excited to get to start doing longer format docs.
Yeah, very cool. I wanted to ask you, I often look at things that I often use like cycling, because I used to like cycle a lot as like a metaphor in life, sort of like, uphill, it's hard, like downhill, but you can't get downhill without an uphill, and all those type of things. Have you had any, say with your previous interests of like skateboarding or like mountain biking, any kind of like lessons in life that you've taken from those things that you sort of kind of like lean on or use?
Yeah. I mean, because you mentioned mountain biking has been a huge part of my journey. I just remember when I was racing, like when I was trying to be competitive, like it's crazy how your body can say no more, like tickets, I'm done. And then because there is an end goal in sight and you haven't reached it yet, your mind takes over and you actually complete it. I mean, there are times where you just like hit the wall where it's like just you can't, like, but in most cases it's a mind thing, like, and it's great that you get to learn that through something like a fun thing like sport. It wasn't life or death type of scenario where I realized, oh, I'm actually, your mind's stronger than your body. So to get to, that experience definitely helps to know you can do more than you feel you're capable of. Like, yeah. So yeah, I think that's one thing. There's probably more, but that came to mind now.
Yeah, very cool. And then, I think ending off, where can people find you? Social media, all those things. And how do people get hold of you?
Cool. Instagram, probably the best way. Like I will post there now and then. Andre Hugo Media on Instagram. I also have a website where I just show some of my latest work. It's nothing fancy, even though I was a web designer. Like I moved so far away from it. It was the simplest website I could make, but it's there. It's andrehugo.com. So there's my contact details also there. So.
And then the last one about that is you have also started a podcast recently.
Oh, yes.
You've already filmed the whole bunch of episodes. What's that? Can you share anything about that?
Yeah. Maybe this is now my, like, sharing it with the world. I don't know when this one is going out, but
probably like 3 or 4 weeks time.
Okay, that's a good time. That's a good time to announce it. So I just started what I want to call a podcast on wheels, or a rolling podcast. So I bought an old MGB GT, classic car, and I am getting guests on in the media space, so videographers, photographers, and we are just having like chilled conversation, like how'd they get into it, talking about the industry, all aspects of it. So some of it's more technical, some of it is just like business. It varies, but it's just a little fun project that I started, and it's called Cameras and Cars. So
okay, and if it's up, I'll put the link in for that.
Yes, please. Yeah,
because now it isn't up.
It's
anywhere.
not up. Yeah. So I'm still recording a bunch of episodes. I'm actually on my way to record another one now after this, and then I still have to think how I want to properly launch it. But yeah, it's been really awesome getting the opportunity to talk to a lot of people about specifically this industry, videography, photography.
Yeah. And then my last question is, if you are if there's someone who's asking you, listen, I'm really keen to get into the kind of work that you're doing. I'd love to do it one day, but I'm really scared about it. What kind of advice would you offer them?
So keep it, if you're in the position, keep it as fun as possible at the start, obviously. Like, it's not your main work, most likely, or you're still a student, so, but yeah, so, and the easiest way to do that is to follow your passion. Like, what other things are you passionate about? Like, music, like that you also got into that way. Like, you went and started photographing bands, like that you already have this passion to tap into. So whatever that could be, it could be nature, outdoors, hiking. I mean, you just have to look at like Instagram and see how some accounts are just taking off because it's so niche and they're not truly passionate about. Otherwise, believe me, it wouldn't have worked. Like it wouldn't have caught on like it did. They are actually passionate about. I think that's maybe what it comes down to. Like you don't have to be scared to niche down to something. You don't have to think you need to do something that is universally like popular, whatever. Like you can really niche down to what your interests are. Like with the retro gaming thing that I formed, like they built a massive following of just like 80s, 90s retro games. There's really a nice opportunity in today's day and age to like follow your passion and make content if that's what you want to do, like create videos, following that passion.
Very cool. Shot, man. Thank
Awesome.
you. I appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me.
Lekker. I'll check you in the next one sometime.
Yeah. Update.
Should do like an update after like a few years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the things,
If you have
all the
time,
challenges I said about now, then I'm going to update how I face those challenges for sure.
And all the ones that you had no idea were coming.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lekker. Shot,
Awesome,
man. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Sweet. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that episode with Andre Hugo. I'll put all his links in the description. And yeah, if you would like to be part of this, please let me know. Looking for more people to interview. And yeah, thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.